I'm now a Mass Effect fan. The funny thing is, I've known about the series for a long time, but I've never actually sat down to play it. I mean, sure, I'd hear about how epic the story supposedly was, I knew the game was a third-person shooter, and the romance were great, especially in Mass Effect 3. But beyond that, I didn't know much. But for some reason, I just never jumped in. But when they announced the Mass Effect collection coming out, I decided to give Mass Effect a try and play them through backwards compatibility, so I could fully see what the hype was all about. So I booted up Mass Effect 1, and after getting to the point where you recruit Liara, I uninstalled it because I couldn't stand the shooting and the Mako. So side note, the aiming and the shooting of Mass Effect 1 apparently worked on a 2-dice roll mechanism. So one dice determines if you're accurate and your shots hit, and the second dice roll determines the damage of the hits. Now onto the Mako. I hated driving that thing. I told myself I'm not playing Legendary Edition until I know they fix those issues. After that, the collection came out and heard it was a success. But since it wasn't on Game Pass, I couldn't play it on launch, and I eventually forgot about it. Then recently, I saw the collection on Game Pass, and I thought I'd play it and give it another shot. So I installed it and started playing Mass Effect 1, and this time it was better. Not just visually, which is always a plus, but the shooting out of everything was more tolerable. Still old, but more polished. They actually made it so every class could actually scope in and shoot steadily with every weapon. And the Mako was drivable, which was great. The Legendary Edition improved things enough for me that I could actually stick with it. But man, that Citadel I still couldn't stand. Having to walk around everywhere was so annoying and time consuming. Especially if I got lost, which I did a good amount. I don't like this whole going back and forth shit. It's annoying. Even with the fast travel, I still felt it was taking forever to get around. I found myself trying to speedrun the game, focusing on the main story and only doing side quests if they happened to be on the way to where I needed to go because of this. At times the story would get confusing because I kept forgetting the names of the species, so when they would mention certain species names, I would often get confused, and I still honestly kind of do, but I am getting better. Overall, the story for Mass Effect 1 was really good. The best part of the story was the companions and the roles they played. They weren't just side characters, they played a major role in the combat with their unique abilities, and also played a part in shaping the story and how I approached different situations with their dialogues and skills.
A bit too dangerous for me.
What is it about you that makes people assume we enjoy being in harm's way?
It's not that bad, really.
When the time came to decide who to leave behind on Virmire, I had to Google who to leave behind and what the outcome was going to be for the next games. Do they die? I'm not gonna lie, I did this a lot throughout the series because I wanted a good ending and because chat wasn't always so helpful at times. With there being different companions, those two didn't leave a lasting interest or impression on me. They felt very bland. I didn't find myself connecting with them as much as others. Overall though, I ended up enjoying the first game story. I think what pulled me in was the way I could impact the decisions and shape the dialogue. So when I finally finished the first Mass Effect, I quickly wanted to get into the second one. I couldn't help but feel excited about what came next. I wanted to see how the decisions I made would carry over and how the game improved its mechanics. Now on to the game with the most romanceable companions of 12. Right away I could tell it was a major improvement from the first game, especially in the areas that frustrated me. The combat and movement felt smoother and more responsive, making the gunplay much more enjoyable than in the first game. One of the biggest reliefs was the removal of the Mako. However, with the removal of the Mako, they introduced the Hammerhead, which was better for movement, but the levels and missions for it were tedious. They also added a navigation pointer so you could click to get a better sense of where you needed to go, which I found super helpful when I got lost on where to go. But only some things were perfect. The UI felt thick, almost too in your face at times, for lack of a better way of describing it. It took a while to get used to it. And the hacking minigames, they were tedious, especially when you just wanted to get on with the game. The skill tree also felt like a downgrade compared to the first game. There just wasn't as much depth in the upgrades, which was disappointing to me. The Citadel, though, was a lot better in this game. It could be confusing at times when trying to navigate, but overall it was a much more tolerable experience than in Mass Effect 1. Still, despite these issues, Mass Effect 2's story tops the first one. It manages to build on what made Mass Effect 1 engaging and does it even better. One of those things is the companions and their missions. I felt they played a much bigger role in this game because this time I didn't speedrun through the story. Their missions and stories added so much depth to the overall experience and characters. Garrus' mission was pretty cool, Kasumi's loyalty mission was fun, but I think the best loyalty mission of all time was Tali's. And yes, I was trying to woo Tali, mission accomplished, thank you very much. Her mission was probably the one I had the most fun on. It was also when I really started Googling what the best choices were for missions and the outcomes. I was really trying to go for the best ending and outcome for all the missions and overall story. A mission that did stand out was the DLC Shadow Broker mission. Now that was a blast. Most of the loyalty missions were fun, though Zahid's mission felt kind of meh by comparison. Also, side note, Miranda is meh of a character. Now, as much as I love this game, there were still some things that bugged me. The resource collecting, yeah, that was annoying. I didn't mind it too much, but honestly, I only stuck with it because chat kept telling me I needed to get all the upgrades if I wanted the good ending and keeping everyone alive. So, I guess that kept me motivated. Side note, apparently in Mass Effect 1, when traveling on planets on the Mako, you could have collected resources that would have carried over to Mass Effect 2 that would have given you a boost to your resources if you had ported your character over to Mass Effect 2. It would have been nice to know this at the time when playing Mass Effect 1, because then maybe I would have done that. But, too late. But despite the minor flaws, the story of Mass Effect 2 was incredible. Every decision and every mission felt like it mattered, and the stakes only kept rising as the game went on. The ending was everything I had hoped for. I worked so hard to get the perfect ending, and in the end, I pulled it off. Every single companion survived, and I was proud of how each one played a pivotal role during the final mission. The finale was intense and had me on edge the whole time. And honestly, as great as the ending was, it left me wanting more. I could tell the story was far from over, and I found myself eager to dive into Mass Effect 3. The way Mass Effect 2 concluded made me want to see how the story would evolve further, how my decisions would continue to shape the universe, and what Cerberus' true intentions were. I also couldn't wait to reunite with my crew and see what challenges awaited us next. Then Mass Effect 3 hit. Mass Effect 3 grabbed me from the opening act. The chaos of the Reaper's invasion of Earth immediately pulled me in, and I was eager to see how the story would unfold from that moment on. I wanted to keep going with the story, but to get the perfect ending, I had to do all the side quests and build my army. Which I almost didn't do, but I managed to find 800 more units to get 7,800 total military strength by scanning the planets, which I think is cool they brought back. This game's story had some cool moments in it, like rescuing Javik and the Leviathan DLC. There were also some sad moments, like me letting Miranda die because I didn't know her quest was a timed one. Why is Miranda dying?
You thought of everything.
Well, that wasn't supposed to happen, chat. Not gonna lie. Miranda was not supposed to die. Or me leaving Tali behind at the end of the game.
Shepard!
You gotta get out of here.
I can't stay behind.
Don't argue with me, Tali.
Don't leave me behind.
I need you to make it out of here alive, Tali. Get back to Rannick. Build yourself.
Have a home. Come back to me.
Go!
The funny moments for me were how everyone knew the Shadow Broker was Liara, Joker falling in love with EDI, or some weird cool moments like all of the Citadel DLC. But as much as I was into the story and enjoying it, there were a couple of things that got on my nerves. James, for one, with his constant loco comments, were pretty annoying. I did have the option to have him not call me that, but all I knew was if I went renegade, bad things would happen, so I didn't. And then there was Caden. He was always moping around, which I get, almost dying in End of the World, but that was it. Funny enough, I almost got into a romance with him just by trying to cheer him up.
Shepard, have you ever known me to be with anyone? I guess I'm just choosy or patient, or maybe what I've never found and what I want is something deeper with someone that I already...
Wait, am I accidentally fucking...
That's what I want.
I'm sorry, Caden, but we should just keep it professional.
But man, the game's ending was both sad and great. It left me wanting more. Playing through these games, I finally understood why they have such a massive fan base, and now I'm a part of it. But finishing them left me feeling a bit empty, like something was missing. So I guess the next step is to play Andromeda, but I'll share that experience in a future video.